First of all, I think that um, I will say, even though I'm probably not supposed to say, I so support what you've said about the role and the importance of increased funding. I am such a supporter. I think the people who, when I look at in the eviction area, I'm going to talk about, uh, LSC has been the heroes for a long, long time. And when I think of the lawyers I've talked to in my past and that Ron has helped us consult with, I just, the amount of admiration and appreciation. And I do think the description of heroes is right, considering the hours put in and the lives affected. And while it's enormous and great, it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't have to be that people have to work such extreme hours under extreme pressure because we can't adequately fund all your efforts. So I support you. I pledge to do more on my part to help you fulfill some of those goals. I think you are helped a lot by and I mean this, really tremendous reputation that John has and that Ron have in Washington, D.C. They are spoken of and so well thought of that I think you have great profile here. So let me just say a few words on the eviction front. I start with the fact that for all the issues that are being debated now, for all the ways that I wrote a book recently called Economic Dignity about like how, we should be patching up our economic security network that's so much a part of the Build Back Better agenda the president has. But let's face it, eviction policy is one of the big holes in our system of justice and our system of economic security and economic dignity. We do not have a national infrastructure for a humane eviction policy in our country. One of the things Matt Desmond and the Eviction Lab have been very good in stating is that before the pandemic, we were having 3.6 million eviction filings a year. That's the average. That's a normal, non-pandemic, non-recession year. 3.6 million, 300,000 a month. And a large majority of that evictions, heartbreaking, scarring evictions that often put people on a downward cycle, lead to homelessness, lack of attachment, is happening for non-payment of $500 or $600. So that is the backdrop under which the emergency rental assistance plan has been created. Now, this has been hard. I do coordinate the implementation of all $1.9 trillion of the American Rescue Plan. I'd say next, along with child tax credit, there's nothing I spend probably more time on or have more heart in or keeps me up more at night than the emergency rental assistance. It has been challenging. It's been challenging because, number one, we are trying to build that new infrastructure in a decentralized way in 400 jurisdictions at the same time in an emergency situation. That is difficult. Secondly, landlord tenants relationships are difficult in normal times and more difficult in a pandemic. Third, as you know, tenants do not have representation, and that hurts them in so many ways, but it also hurts their capacity to often get the relief that they need, or to have someone to negotiate, not just in court, but pre-court, pre-eviction with the emergency rental assistance. And then finally, we have just seen excessive caution when there's not really active political leadership. There is a lot of fear, among the people who do it, committed civil servants, but so worried in a new program about getting something wrong that there's overcaution in the face of a national emergency. Now, sometimes people hear this and they say to me, geez, don't you regret that Congress didn't pass a version of emergency rental assistance that was like the PPP or EIDL or any of the programs we run from Washington? And I think the answer is that no, I don't regret it. And here's why. Had we simply sent out checks from DC, yes, it would have been easier for me to implement from the federal level. We wouldn't be involved in the cajoling and the guidance and the convening and all the things we're doing. But we would not have had a chance to actually build that national infrastructure. We would not have had a chance to look at the right of counsel, about representation, about eviction diversion, about court reform. And I think that as hard, as painful struggles it's been to have to set up the emergency rental assistance in 400 jurisdictions, and the challenge it's been, there is an opportunity there. When we got together, and I have to thank Ron Flagg, not just for all his work he's done, but if I had to put up 3 fingers of outside people who have been most helpful to this White House in thinking through and working with us on making progress on a long-term eviction strategy, Ron would be one of them. He has just been enormously helpful and has at times been on 2-3 calls a week with us. And one of the things was, don't just try to get some pro bono lawyers. Don't just try to, that's important. Don't just try to do some temporary things. Let's try to work on real reform. And that means not just, of course, right to counsel and representation, but also an eviction diversion strategy, a strategy that that can only work with coordination of government, with the Legal Service Corporation, with courtrooms, where we say eviction is a last resort, not a first resort. The Supreme Court Justice from Michigan, who I mentioned, has been one of the strong leaders on this around our country. And so what we're doing here, so I think that we have to think about this, of course, about getting that emergency relief out to the people who are facing the potential for eviction. But we also need to see this as a singular moment to build that national infrastructure for a humane eviction prevention policy. And I think we are making progress, but I think we need to think of it this way. If this goes away and we don't change the system, we will look back and regret. I will say that with Ron and when Ron was working together with us, it was with the president of the American Bar Association too. They were both on the phone, along with the court administrator organization as well. I can't tell you how much has happened since then. All over the country, we are seeing more eviction diversion programs, more efforts to work with legal services, only wishing there was more resources for them. There is real change happening. I can't add it up like we can some statistics, but I'm sure Ron would confirm it is happening. So one of the things we want to do is not just get the relief to people we want, but be able to say a few years from now, this was the year we started building real reform in our courts, in our legal system, in our policy system on eviction diversion. Now, the emergency rental assistance, in some way, people were out there, I think, kind of unfairly saying, boy, hasn't spent much of the $46 billion. Well, that $46 billion is for 5 years. We were in a race with time, and the race was to get this up and going by the time the national eviction moratorium ended. I'm never going to feel good about anything in this area when there are tens or hundreds of thousands of people being evicted that we could prevent, knowing the heartbreak and the devastation that is created. But I do want to point out, and this is my last thing I'll say, this has been meaningful. We, in August of this year, 420,000 homes received payments. 420,000. Remember, 300,000 normally get an eviction filing. Evictions are actually below historic averages. Is that good enough? No, it's not good enough. As the president says, you want to build back better. We don't want to go back. But it is important to understand that this is having a meaningful difference. The fact that you could have a moratorium for over a year and then have evictions below historic levels show that while we've got a long way to go, this is making a meaningful difference. And I can't thank Ron and Legal Service Corporation for your advice, for the times we've done that you've participated in our White House Summit, for the outreach sessions that Ron has organized. They have really made a difference. And, to me, in terms of building this reform, we're in the early innings and we have a long way to go. But I want to point out we have a chance to build something lasting. So thank you so much for having me.